Competition is supposed to make things better, to push studios to think harder, to challenge what's comfortable, to force real change. But when you've been at the top for too long, that pressure fades. You stop taking risks, you stop evolving, and instead of progress, you start maintaining what already exists. Familiar, safe, recycled. And slowly, the spark that made it all exciting in the first place begins to fade. Hey everyone, Replex Games here. The first weekend of the Black Ops 7 beta is now behind us, and I think I've had enough time with it to really form my thoughts. It's funny how a single change, the flip of one switch, can completely shift how you see a game. If you'd asked me for my thoughts after the first 2 days, and then again after the third and fourth, you'd be hearing two entirely different takes. It's clear now that competition from Battlefield 6 is finally pushing Activision to listen, to actually make the changes players have been asking for. You can feel it in small ways across the beta, like subtle signs, and a few not so subtle, of a studio realizing it can't just coast anymore. So in this video, I'll be going over both multiplayer and zombies and sharing my thoughts on how the Black Ops 7 beta really feels. Let's start with the movement. In a nutshell, it feels a lot like Black Ops 6, just without tactical sprint. Now you might remember they hyped up wall jumping as this big game-changing addition. In practice though, it's a lot more subtle. Wall jumping can add another dimension to movement, creating opportunities for more dynamic engagements and creative plays. But it's nowhere near as central as something like jetpacks were in Advanced Warfare or Black Ops 3. For the most part, it feels like an additional layer rather than a defining mechanic. I found myself using it occasionally, mostly when the map layout encouraged it, like around the canyon section on Exposure, but it never felt necessary. The core flow of combat remains grounded and familiar, just with a small hint of vertical flair. Moving on to gunplay. It feels more or less the same as Black Ops 6, low recoil, easy to use, and consistently satisfying. There are some small tweaks like slightly clearer visuals while firing, less muzzle flash, less smoke, but nothing that drastically changes how the guns feel. Black Ops 6 already had solid gunplay, so it's more refinement than reinvention here. Weapon variety is solid, with enough options across classes to suit different playstyles, and most of them feel distinct. That said, the meta still reigns supreme. Even after a balance patch mid-beta, the same few weapons continue to dominate, so while the foundation is strong, the overall experience ends up feeling pretty familiar. As for the maps, Black Ops 6 set a pretty low bar with some of the weakest launch maps in recent games. So in that sense, Black Ops 7 already feels like a step up. The beta maps follow a very classic 3-lane structure, clean, symmetrical, and predictable. They don't reinvent the formula, but they play well and it feels thoroughly designed overall. The big controversy early on was the automatic doors. At launch, they were everywhere and honestly pretty frustrating to deal with. Thankfully, the developers have already adjusted how they function and confirmed their reviewing placement for the full game release, so it feels like they're listening. As for game modes, the beta featured the standard Moshpit rotation alongside a new mode called Overload, a more competitive, objective-based mode that could replace control in the CDL lineup. Overall, a solid lineup for a beta, with some promising potential for the full launch. Talking about perks, there's not much new here. They're basically the same as Black Ops 6, with the only real changes being the reintroduction of Specialist, which wasn't in the beta, and a few new combat specialist combinations. Nothing groundbreaking, just familiar territory. Scorestreaks are similarly familiar, but there's one interesting addition, the overclock system. It lets you choose one upgrade for your score streak or equipment with two very different options. It's a small touch, but it does make you think about how you want to approach each match. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, skill-based matchmaking. By the end of day 2, my thoughts were, meh, another year, another sweat fest. Every match felt like I had to be laser focused just to avoid getting stomped. Honestly, it was the most aggressive I've ever seen SBMM. Granted, it's a beta, so things were always going to be sweaty, but still. Then I started seeing posts claiming SBMM had been removed. and I thought it was a joke. Until I saw more. Booted up the game, and there it was, Open Moshpit, Activision's ace up the sleeve. Yes, this is absolutely a reaction to Battlefield 6, but it also proves that Call of Duty isn't too big to fail. So how was it? Exactly what you'd expect. Matches had little to no skill filtering. You'd run into absolute beginners one round and seasoned demons the next. You could stomp, get stomped, or have nail biters. And honestly, it was refreshing. The sheer variety of matches made every session unpredictable and fun. For the first time in almost 4 years, I genuinely enjoyed playing Call of Duty multiplayer again. Now as for zombies, is it any better than Black Ops 6? Not really. A lot of what defines zombies is restricted in the beta compared to multiplayer, so our judgment is limited, but the overall feel is strikingly familiar. The beta offered a survival mode on Van Dorn Farm, a small subset of the larger Ashes of the Damned map. And how does it feel? Very similar to Black Ops 6. Let's start with the visuals. This is where Black Ops 7 Zombies shines. The map is set in the dark ether, and it doesn't hold back. It's dark, gritty, and exactly the kind of atmosphere zombies fans enjoy. A real step up from Black Ops 6. The HUD, however, was a bit of a letdown, though leaks suggest improved HUD presets for the full release, which is promising. Gameplay, unfortunately, doesn't quite live up to the visuals. Much of it feels identical to Black Ops 6. Unnecessary armor, weapon rarity, and the salvage system are still here. There are a few new toys, one perk called Wisp Tea, which summons a little wisp that kills zombies, a new field upgrade called Toxic Growth, which creates a poisonous thorny bush, and a returning ammo mod called Fireworks, which kills zombies with fireworks. Fun, but nothing groundbreaking. Overall, based on what we had in the beta, Zombies feels very similar to Black Ops 6. I can only judge what I've been allowed to play, and I hope the full maps, along with the new story, can deliver the experience Zombies fans really enjoy. After spending time with the beta, the takeaway is nuanced. On one hand, a lot feels familiar. The same engine, the same goal loop, the same rhythms we've seen for years. It's easy to fall into autopilot. And in many ways, that familiar pattern can also feel hollow. But there are also signs of meaningful change. The tweaks to movement, the map improvements, the addition of new modes, and most importantly, the Open Moshpit show that developers are willing to listen and adapt. Competition from Battlefield 6 seems to be pushing Activision to consider what players actually want, and that's encouraging. The Black Ops 7 beta may not completely reinvent the wheel, but it hints at a franchise capable of evolving. Cautiously, yes, but evolving nonetheless. It's not perfect, and there's plenty left to refine. But for the first time in a long while, there is reason to feel genuinely curious about what comes next. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.